Okay, so here we are. I just wanted to stop into this little marketplace. It's like a place where they have all these different food stalls just to see what they have, and then we can get to Harry and Meghan. This is a little city just off the 16th district of Paris called Ici les Moulineaux, and I find it to be very, very beautiful. So quite often I like to just, walk around and check out different places in this area. And yeah. So Harry and Meghan. So what's new with Harry and Meghan while we're doing this? I saw this one headline today from one of these unhinged, channels in the UK, whether it's Talk TV, GB News, it all sort of rolls into one blob of unhinged, right? And funnily enough, they were talking about how Meghan is unhinged. They're like projecting their unhinged state of mind onto Meghan, who is just living her Cali girl life, near the ocean, laid back, juicing with, her green juice and her lattes and, just happy as a clam with her husband and children in her castle. And they are projecting their unhinged bitterness onto Meghan and calling Meghan unhinged. I just thought that was so hilarious. It was actually hilarious. I think it was Rebecca English and Richard Eden, these two so-called royal experts who were talking. Was it them? They were talking. I remember Rebecca English compared Harry and Meghan to North Korea, which itself was unhinged. And what did Richard Eden say? He was going on and on about how Harry and Meghan are hypocrites because, he's still very bitter that he wasn't given a front row seat to the Sussexes, holiday or tour of Colombia. And he really feels that he and others in his posse deserved to have front row seats and, what do you call it, prime tickets to the events, because I guess they have been assigned the job of keeping Harry and Meghan not only relevant, but transparent and authentic. And they do all the fact checking of Harry and Meghan, and they have decided that Harry and Meghan absolutely have to have a fact checker, and it has to be one of them. And so they are very better about the fact that they were not invited to this Colombia trip. And as I said before in another video, another aspect of this whole thing is that this is their job. They don't have anything else. So when you cut them out of this bread, this delicious hot cross bun and bread, and you give them absolutely nothing but your back, it's like talk to the hand, talk to the wind, and you give them nothing. I mean, they are very displeased, right? So I'm trying to remember whether it was Richard Eden or Rebecca English who used this pejorative that Meghan is unhinged, or was it some other third party video? Because I have this link that says Meghan and Harry, and when I click on it, it takes me to all the new videos of Meghan and Harry that occurred, I guess, within a certain span of days. And typically it's all negative. Very rarely do I find is there a video that is like actually saying something positive. So I don't know how YouTube or whatever sort of amalgamates all of this and sort of curates all of this. But there was one that said she was unhinged. I don't remember who the author was, But it's just so funny to me that these people who are so beyond unhinged, I mean, these journalists, these haters, these obsessed people who have no lives outside. I mean, that they are the ones who don't have a life, because Harry and Meghan are not talking about them every day. Harry and Meghan are not trying to get into places where they are. Harry and Meghan are not trying to, do, shows on Netflix, shows about these people and their every move. Harry and Meghan are the ones in the driver's seat, and they are the ones being chased by these people, right? So this idea that, Meghan is unhinged is like, it's just so funny. It's a new, I understand it. It's like a new storyline. It's something that they can use to tide themselves over for the next few weeks, because if you notice, Harry and Meghan have a pattern. When they make public appearances, it's usually in a cluster, and then they disappear for a while, right? So I suspect that, and I could be wrong, but I suspect that they're not going to be making a huge amount of public appearances for at least a little bit, because they just did this huge tour in Colombia, and I don't think, they're not into being overexposed and being out there every single day, and the paparazzi and this and that. I don't sense that that's their vibe. I sense that they come out specifically to deal with specific things that they're doing, public relations things, PR things, and then they retreat back to their castle in Montecito, So this whole thing with being unhinged is probably just a way for these journalists to keep eating, because they need the material, so they can start a whole week or 2 or 3 on this subject matter, get other people to pick it up, like in the vlogs and in the YouTube channels and other social media, get that to pick up the unhinged, that word unhinged, and stay on that, and go to town on that for a few weeks, and that will keep them eating, because no matter what they come up with, there's an audience for it. There are customers for it and clients for it. there are people who want to consume any of this bile, any bile that you can either find, concoct, whatever that remotely pertains to anything having to do with Harry and Meghan, there is an audience for it. There are consumers ready to consume it, okay? And they know that. So it could be that that's what's going on, because otherwise I don't understand what they possibly could mean by Meghan being unhinged. I mean, this woman, whenever you see her, her hair is done and properly coiffed. She's well dressed. I mean, it's like her wardrobe itself is like a poetry book of like, all the fashionistas and the fashion editors of all the major fashion magazines just eat it up. Even her haters go out and buy the things that she wears, so she's always pulled together. You haven't really heard her say anything recently that one could, reasonably describe as being unhinged. I mean, she was in Colombia. She speaks about women's empowerment. She speaks about, digital safety for young people. I mean, if that's unhinged, I mean, what would they say about, some of the other stuff that's going on in the world, if they even care? Anyway, I'm trying to find some stuff on a project I'm working on. So I'm a little bit like, double, what do you call it? Multitasking. But yeah, this idea of Meghan being unhinged, I just think I picked it up just because it was just so funny. And to me, it's like an update. I mean, this is just so hilariously funny. Like, I thought I would bring that to your attention. Like, can you believe that this is where these people have now sunk to call Meghan unhinged? These clearly unhinged people with no lives, nothing to do in terms of their career. I mean, they have nothing to do, nothing to talk about. Their bosses are pressing their feet on their necks to bring in some exclusives, bring something in on the threat of losing their jobs, some of these people, right? Because they are redundant and irrelevant if they have nothing to share to the viewers. I mean, these people are running a television station and channel, right? And a morning show that they need material, right? So that you have to come up with something. I understand all of that, right? But the idea that what they came up with was that Meghan is unhinged, to me, is just like, it just blows my mind from here to kingdom come. From here to kingdom come. I mean, it's just like, wow. So there was that. And then there was, as I said, Rebecca English. I remember it was definitely her who compared Harry and Meghan to North Korea. I mean, remember
Turn
how
left onto Avenue de
earlier
Champhalbert.
in the summer or late spring,
Yes.
maybe, that the French Agence Presse compared Kensington Palace to North Korea because they
Wonderful.
were
Thank you so
issuing
much.
fake
Catherine
photos of
Very good. Merci,
Catherine and her children, right? And Agence Press, they pulled it apart and they realized it's a gobbed together with chewing gum and paper clips. This is not a real photo. You're fake, and you're passing this off as real. And we're not stupid, and we're not here for it. And they compared William and Kate and Kensington Palace to North Korea. So now, because that still stings, and they're now trying to pull Harry and Meghan into that, to say that Harry and Meghan's refusal to let these demon wolves into their tour of Colombia equates them to North Korea. I mean, this guy over in North Korea, he does a lot of propaganda and a lot of different stuff. And he is a totalitarian where, this is a government. He's the head of a state, right? Kim Jong-un, and he's a head of a state, and he doesn't let anybody in, and so on and so forth. Okay. A lot of things are fake, that you can't trust anything he says, and so on and so forth. I understand that. The notion that Harry and Meghan and Kim Jong-un are on the same level in terms of, first of all, their importance or place in the world. I mean, again, this man is a head of state, Kim Jong-un. He's like a King Charles, right? These are heads of state. Harry and Meghan are private citizens living in Montecito, California. They were invited to Colombia by the vice president of the country because she watched the documentary on Netflix, and she felt a certain way about it, and as a human being, and she invited them to Colombia, and she rolled out the red carpet for them as private citizens who are also entrepreneurs, so that they dabble in a lot of different things that she finds interesting for her own population. So there was a lot of overlapping of, her sympathy for them, her admiration for their work, and so on. And so she took them all over the country, and the people welcomed them. And I think it was also an opportunity for her to showcase Colombia to the world in a positive light, especially given the fact that these same journalists who are condemning Harry and Meghan for locking them out were coming up with so many negative horror stories about the country simply because Harry and Meghan had been invited there. So they started to tell the entire world that this country is the most dangerous place in the world. They started to inform us of all the crimes that are going on, all the drug wars, all the cocaine. They were even calling on Harry to bring up the cocaine. I don't even know what cocaine connection or whatever, to diss Harry, because in Spare, Harry had said that he had experimented with cocaine. And so they wanted to turn the trip into something dirty and ugly and nasty and filthy. So they're now imposing on Harry to bring up the fact that Colombia has a cocaine trade issue, whatever. And so they were just focusing on so much negativity and filth about this country that it was such a big surprise, certainly for me personally, to see how beautiful this country really is, and how ordinary and normal and beautiful and loving and welcoming and joyful the people in Colombia are. I think Harry and Meghan's trip, if it did nothing else, it really showcased Colombia in a very, very positive light. Something that was completely opposite to what the British media was trying to do to the country, simply because Harry and Meghan had been invited there. So the idea now that Rebecca English is comparing Harry and Meghan to North Korea because they blocked her and her ilk from being present at these events in Colombia and having anything at all to do with their visit to Colombia is really freaking hilarious in and of itself, because nothing about that scenario where Harry and Meghan blocked these types of mischief makers and evildoers and haters out of their experience is equivalent to the kind of propaganda and lies and fakery that North Korea allegedly has dabbled in, because at this point you can't even trust that this is true. They tell you that this is true, but I've never personally seen anything that North Korea did except what I'm being told by the media, right? And now I'm realizing you can't always trust what the media is telling you, because the media is very, and the global media, very, very biased against certain types of people and countries, right? So what's really true, I don't even know. But what appears to be definitely true is that Kensington Palace issued fake photos back in the late spring that led the Agence France Presse to equate them to North Korea. And the notion that this woman, Rebecca English, is going to now try to rope Harry and Meghan into that by saying that they are like North Korea just because Harry and Meghan blocked her and her evil doing types. You know, the what someone called them, I mean, and this is not my terminology, but someone called them the something cockroach, the tabloid cockroaches. So they blocked all tabloid cockroaches out of their event, and you're going to sit there and call them North Korea while you said nothing when Kensington Palace really acted like North Korea. And then Richard Eden is going to sit there and say that it's Harry and Meghan who are hypocrites and who are unhinged. I mean, these people are just really, really way too funny. They're too funny to be analyzed. You can't even take them seriously. And the thing is, I don't think they realize how much this situation with Meghan and Harry has gone global, and how the eyes of the world are on the UK, but in a way that they don't really want it to be, because I think more and more people have lost respect, not just for the press, not just for the UK press, but for the UK itself, because of the conduct of the UK press. Because people, whether it's fair or unfair, they equate the country and the people in it to the press. It's like the press represents the country. The press sort of brings the country and the people to the global audience, right? So when you are reading a press that, you know, you just can't respect at all because of, yeah, the propaganda, because of the nature of the press. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, you fight for freedom of the press. You don't want to have a society where the press is censored. But at the same time, if in allowing a free press, you allow people to, or give license to people to harass others and to literally make up fake things about others and lie about others, and do it selectively even, right? It becomes a problem that I think they didn't anticipate, in the sense that it just reflects so negatively on the country itself. It really does. I think fewer people are monarchists today than 4 years ago, or even 8 years ago when Meghan came on the scene. I think even I was not a monarchist, but I certainly was someone who was into the whole idea of prince and princess, king and queen on a different level, you know. I mean, I loved Princess Diana, what a fairy tale, and Duchess Fergie, you know, those days, those were my days, that's my generation, you know. And I, well, they're not my generation, they're a little bit older, but, you know, I was all into that, you know. And this idea of the palace and oh, this and that and that. I mean, it was a completely different thing 8 years ago for someone like me. And since this thing with Meghan, I have lost a tremendous amount of respect for the whole lot of them, the whole thing. The whole idea of monarchy is now completely unraveled in my mind. I don't see how anybody justifies hoisting any other human being up in that way, talking about your king and queen. I just don't see it. Like, it makes no sense. And I just, for the British monarchy in particular, I have lost complete respect. I've lost all respect for King Charles and his wife, King Charles the Vindictive, and his wife Camilla. I've lost all respect for William and Kate, because of how William treated his brother, or because of the fact that his brother married a woman that they clearly felt, in my view, was not, she wasn't blue-blooded enough because of her mixed race ancestry. And to me, that's a foul ball. And I just was like, I'm over it. And the unrelenting attacks that I feel are without justification, or if they had any justification at all, I think the punishment far outweighs the crime by so much that it then calls into question the legitimacy of any of the punishment at all. And the more you listen to all of these royal experts, the more you listen to Harry and Meghan and what they said, the more you look at the situation, you just see that Harry and Meghan told the truth. They were right about all of these things, and you just see what it is. And so you can't really, with, in good conscience, you cannot respect any of this, right? So there's that. And I just, I find, a lot of what the media says and does at this point to be unworthy of my response. But sometimes it's just so funny and just so ridiculous that, I do pick it up like I am today, just to bring it to your attention for a good laugh, because what else can you do at this point with these types of people? Anyway, you guys, I think that's it for this one. I just want to keep walking, and I've become, I don't want to say fat, but I need to walk. That's all. So see you in the next one, you guys. Take care. Bye.